You're watching The Conservative Talks, brought to you by the ECR Party, your weekly Q&A show on the deeper themes driving the European news cycle. I'm your host, Jorge González-Gallarza. Every week, an expert roster of authors, lawmakers, and newsmakers will join me to unpack the events rocking the European Union's foundations in a short, digestible format from a conservative and Euro-realist angle. Well, welcome to another episode in our series, and today we are so delighted to be talking to Mathias Karlson, who is joining us from his countryside estate in rural Sweden. Mathias Karlson needs no introduction. He's widely known of our audience, and hopefully perhaps those who do not know Mathias will get a better sense of what he's been up to over his long career in the Swedish parliament, but also some of the great things that he's reading up to and some of the new institutional work that he's involved in. He remains, just for reference, a member of Sweden's Riksdag, and he has, however, changed the constituency that he now represents is his home constituency, and he led the Swedish Democrats for as parliamentary leader for a long time, from 2014 to 2019, and he's now, like I said, involved in setting up a new conservative institution. And he will hopefully tell us a lot more about what that has been for him. So I thought we may start just right there. Mathias, what has it been like for you? What do you see how do you see the political landscape in Sweden? How did you think of the need for a conservative institution to do all the things that you're working on lately?
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Yeah, the situation in Sweden, I think I'm both hopeful and also wary about the situation of my country. We have big problems in society, deep structural problems. We have, as you might know, we have been governed by socialists for almost 100 years, and that's has not been a great thing, especially not the last few decades. But things are changing, though. You're seeing an awakening, especially among young people, more seeking new solutions and also turning to conservatism. Conservatism has actually become almost like a sexy buzzword in Sweden for the last few years. And what we're seeing now is my party, the Swedish Democrats, have established itself as one of the second largest or third largest party in the country. That has completely changed the political map of Sweden. But what is even more hopeful is that the liberal conservatives, the Moderaterna, and also the Christian Democrats have, for the first time ever, said that they are willing to cooperate with us and to take on the power of government with our support. So that means that we actually have a non-socialist, non-liberal alternative for the first time. We could actually have the first genuinely conservative government in Sweden in almost 100 years now, in the next election in 2022. But what also makes me fearful is that won't be enough, because the structural problems in Sweden go so deep and are so wide. And one of the main problems is that the socialists, even if they would lose government power, which it stands like they could do that, they still control most parts of the chessboard. Anyway, they control the academia, they control the media sphere, they control the cultural sector, the civic society, and it's a cliche, but I believe in the saying that politics is downstream from culture, and unless we try to remedy that unbalance that we're seeing today, where the socialists and the social liberals are controlling almost every important aspect or dimension of society, I fear that we won't be able to accomplish as much as we need to accomplish long term. So, but many interesting things are happening in Sweden, and for me, this is the most dynamic time in politics that I've experienced during my almost 21 years now in politics.
This is incredibly fascinating, and I just find it so interesting how you're already thinking ahead. And as you and I were discussing just offline, one of the things that I think strikes a lot of your the people who followed your political career elsewhere in the continent, but also worldwide, is I think people have sensed that there's something deeper than just who is in power that you are working to change in Sweden. It's not just about governmental power. It's a longer ball game, really. And I really hope that we can get into some of the things that you're trying to do with this new institution that I'll let you introduce in due time, which is really fascinating. But what I find so interesting is you're very visionary when you say that may this not be enough if we do eventually change the political ball game in 2 years' time. And it seems like one can only look at across the West and see that in a lot of ways has been the experience in the West. Even when conservatives have been in government, they have not changed the culture. And I think the UK and the United States are two cases in point of that. So I wonder, if we can maybe get a little bit remedial here and kind of explain to an audience who is not aware of the ins and outs of Swedish life generally, but who knows the sway of social democracy in the country and how far and how deep it goes to, the sway over the imagination of the Swedish people, of this century-long, foothold really on political power. So let me phrase the question the following way: what does a future Sweden look like? Because obviously, as you've made a career out of stressing this point, this is not sustainable. What is the future of Sweden?
It depends on how successful I am and many others are in trying to change the direction of Swedish society. But if nothing is changed and we stay on course, I fear that the Swedish society will defragmentize. We are seeing fragmentation along both political lines, but also along cultural lines. We have a big minorities who are now living outside of society, not being a part, not being full citizens, and that is causing a lot of problems, violence, unrest, riots, things that I thought was almost impossible when I was a kid, but now happens almost every week. And we're also seeing that the government is taking a very firm grip on every aspect of political life. Identity politics is very strong. We are seeing the cancel culture that we're seeing in America. We have seen that for a very long time. Many of my friends who have been fired from their work and also threatened and abused in many ways. And unless we completely change that and try to rebuild a common sense of home and decency, I fear for the future. Also, the grip on our children, how our children are indoctrinated in school with socialist ideas. The Social Democrats are now discussing to make it mandatory to put our children in kindergarten because they want them there so they can indoctrinate them. So, but I hope to change all that. I hope to be able to try to increase the sense of communionship among the Swedish population and pointing to our past and our culture and our values. Swedes were actually able to build one of the best functioning societies that the world has ever seen, and we're really proud of that. And also to increase the appreciation of family and family life, and also of course of our nature and other good things. But the main thing today is to restore security. What's happening in Sweden now, most people don't believe me when I tell them, but like we have more bomb attacks than they have in Kabul in Afghanistan. We have more hand grenades explosion per capita than they have in Mexico. And shootings at a higher rate than big cities like New York and whatever, and also one of the highest rates of sexual assault and rape in the world. So that is the main issue to address. We need to restore law and order in Sweden, and I think that is what most Swedes want the most at this point.
That's outstanding, and I do think that you're obviously will have rolled out the organization in full. Certainly by the time that we release this out, people will have known a lot about Oikos, doubtless. But I thought we'll perhaps leave this for the end, but I really do want to get into perhaps try to unpack some of what you mean by Oikos and home. And I think it's such an important theme that we need to be driving in terms of the imagination and the culture. And you've just explained something that people, I think, are aware, but only vaguely so, in terms of Swedish life when they look at Sweden from the outside, is the problem of immigration. And I do want to mention some of that. I think that a lot of people fondly, mostly, I hope, remember the courageous editorial you published in the Wall Street Journal a couple of days, a couple of years, no, it was further back, 2017 is when you ran a Wall Street Journal op-ed in the wake of some comments made by American President Donald Trump about there being really a crime problem in Sweden that is really tightly connected with immigration. And I want to delve into some of that. Is there any connection, for instance, with the fact that Sweden over much of the 20th century has been, as you said, in the grip of a political philosophy that has been all about welfare and that hasn't given enough thought about citizenship? Is that part of the problem?
Definitely, and we have always only been talking about rights, what kind of rights everybody has in this society. We have not been talking about duty at all, and the traditional Swedish society was very much so built on sense of duty. Even the people who deserved their rights mostly focused on their duties. Like my grandfather, for example, who was he's one of my role models in life. Sadly, he's passed away, but he was a working class man, a lumberjack, and he worked his body until it broke. But he never demanded anything for himself. He refused to take government contributions because he said, I can put food on the table for my children. They have clean clothes. So what else can I ask for? But now we are seeing people only demanding, have never done their duty, never done a 1 hour of honest work, but still demanding all these rights. And to restore a sense of home and community, I think that we also need to restore virtues and a sense of duty in society.
That's really outstanding, because there's so much in what you've explained just now that has to do with, again, the deeper battle over values, and not just the political football really that goes on a daily basis. So I'm really glad that you're giving us your time, first of all, but also a piece of your mind on how you see this longer game playing out as you begin to roll out this organization, which is going to change, again, the deeper institutional foundations of what it is that Swedes as a whole can look up to as a reflection of their values. So that's such an important conversation. But is there anything, I wonder, Mattias, that you can tell us about some of the next few things on the docket, so to speak, that people can expect from Oikos? Is what kind of institution precisely is it going to be? What kind of role is it going to play with in some of the fractious political landscape that you are facing, really, as you and I were discussing a moment ago? You've asserted yourself really in Swedish life with really upsetting the political balance that we've known Sweden to have over decades. So what's Oikos specifically going to be up to in the next couple of years or 5?
Of course, we need to, even though I'm looking more to 2032 and 2042, we cannot detach ourselves from the political realities of Sweden and the West. So, of course, we will do our part when it comes to the election campaign next year. What we're trying to do now is trying to deeply investigate, for example, the possibilities for unity within the right on different topics. And we are working together with experts and academics to try to portray for the Swedish population like how much better things could be in different areas, where the different parties are, where the compromises could be, to really make it clear that this is a viable alternative to this current social liberal government. But we're also trying to involve ourselves in new issues that conservatives traditionally has not been so strong on. Maybe traditionally, but not recently. And environmental issues is one such thing. We are trying to address the kind of environmental issues that lies close to the heart of ordinary people. I think the climate issue and all that, that's very abstract and very far away for ordinary people. We are looking at, for example, the problems we have in the Baltic Sea, that it makes it so that ordinary working class people, when they come to swim on their holiday after working a whole year with the children, sometimes they can't go in because it's a brown porridge of algae, and because pollution from farms and other things, and we're trying to work with that, and also Swedes have a very deep connection with our nature, with our forests, and trying to preserve the unique character of the Swedish nature. I think is something that is very important to people, and it's weird to me that we are sending billions of Swedish crowns to these UN foundations. No one really knows where they go. At the same time, here in my whole province, we have polluted areas where the soil is so polluted that small children could actually die if they put the soil in the mouth. So this kind of close to heart environmental issues are something that we are really trying to address, and also find a philosophical base for. As you know, conservatives were the first environmentalists. To conserve what you love is very natural for a conservative, of course. So I think we can start to challenge the left on that, because as it stands now, they have a monopoly on these issues. So we're trying to find new ways and address issues from a different angle, and trying to counter the left. It's something that is very high on the agenda for us. We're also looking at how can we, in a more concrete way, restore the sense of home and community. Looking at research regarding social trust, and what can we actually do on a policy level to make people feel more connected to each other, to restore a sense of duty and virtue. Also, we're looking at, I think beauty is a very important virtue. As you might know, Sir Roger Scruton is my biggest role model when it comes to philosophy. I think he was maybe the greatest conservative philosopher of all time, and he's inspired me a lot. So, and Sweden is becoming uglier and uglier for every year, and I think that goes for many countries in the West. And we're looking at how can we actually build more beautiful things. How can we make our cities more beautiful, and also more traditional, in the sense that they mirror our legacy or cultural inherence, and say something about where we are and our what we believe in and what we value. How do we do that? What kind of regulations and laws needs to be changed? How can we make it cheaper to build beautiful things than to build ugly things? That is, just a few things that we're working on.
That's really outstanding. I mean, there's so much to look forward to in the work that you're doing with Oikos, and I speak for not just myself when I say that people are really expecting and awaiting to see what real role Oikos is gonna have in shaping the conversation. And as you said, shaping the conversation isn't just drafting good policy; it's also changing, or at least shining a light and really reconnecting Sweden to its values and as you said, to its social capital, its aesthetics. So that's all something that I know that all of our audience, the people watching you, will be really looking forward to seeing what you come up with in the next few weeks. If there's maybe a parting question I would ask you is, let me try to phrase it differently. What's the European ball game that you're trying to play with? Is what's happening in the rest of Europe? Is there anything that you can take and point to your fellow Swedes and be like, things could be working differently at home, or is it the opposite, or is it a negative model for you? And are you trying to build alliances with other think tanks, other institutions across the continent where, you know, you can learn from each other and really keep driving the debate forward in a common way.
Yeah, of course, I'm inspired by positive examples in Europe, both when it comes to policy. Depending on the area, there's always something to learn, and most countries get at least something right, and you can learn from that and grow on that. I also try when I'm deeply involved in the conservative networks of Europe and the ECR party and other organizations. And I'm trying to learn as much as I can when I go abroad, and how different organizations are structured, how they are organized. And I think especially America has been a great inspiration to me, maybe not on policy, because yeah, Sweden is Sweden, America is America, but how the conservative movement has organized itself, and how they have a pretty strong infrastructure when it comes to the areas where I want to develop a conservative presence in Sweden, culture, civic society, nonetheless, and different. They also have like these consumers organizations. I think that's important, that we are becoming quite a few conservatives in Europe now, and I think we should realize that we don't not only have a political power, we also have a economical power, and that I think that could be our way to counter the cancel culture. Like, the cancel culture can only exist as long as we allow it to exist. But if it would be very costly for a company or a broadcasting company to cancel someone just for expressing normal conservative views, if they, by doing that, will lose 1 million customers, they will probably not do it anymore. So I think we need to organize in all areas of society, and that is something that I'm deeply involved in. And I believe that we could work closer together than we are in Europe. That's also a lesson I learned from America. The idea of fusionism are not the exact same issues maybe that the American conservative united around, but I think we could find 3 or 4 core issues that we all can unite around, and we should focus our energy on that, like a burning glass. I think the left is talking about the burning glass theory. They point to 1 or 2 things, and they focus all their energy from the whole spectrum of the movement on changing those issues. I think we have been allowed ourselves to be more too fragmentized in Europe so far. And also I think that organizations like the ECR and the ECR party, who's trying to build bridges between traditional conservatives and more the new version of conservatism, like I represent, the more patriotic version. I think that could be a tool or a vehicle that we can use more efficiently, and we could build, for example, help train our best and brightest young people. We could do joint efforts on that, like for example the American Leadership Institute are doing, and I think we could cooperate more closely when it comes to building our own social media networks and other things. So I'm looking forward to that, and fortunately I've found a lot of very intelligent and very high energy and very nice persons in Europe that I can cooperate with.
Well, this is really something to be expecting, and I think a lot of people are really excited with this new direction that you've given to your career and to your service to your fellow countrymen. But people are also excited about the different, as you and I were discussing, the different ball game they're trying to play, setting up new institutions. It's a conversation, like you said, that's going on elsewhere in other countries with, how do we dispute the institutional power of the left, and I think people are really going to be very excited to see what you're going to come up with. I want to really thank you, Mattias, for sharing your time and your thoughts with us today, and we look forward to seeing you on another occasion. And best of luck with this new outstanding institution that Oikos is bound to be.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for letting me on. Thank you.
That is all the time we have for this episode. If you like what you've watched, stay tuned for future episodes on YouTube and across the ECR Party's social media presence. Thank you.